tell you something, brother.
Who are these people?
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
Don't be rude.
Who are these people?
All right, welcome to this episode of Pro Wrestling Talk. I am, of course, Angel Rivera, and no, this is not a repeat of yesterday. This is a new show, so
Oh, he has a different shirt on, and I have my hair up, so
you perfect. We're back here.
I got the hair up today, guys. I got it solid. But I like the shirt. It's a nice green. You know, it goes with the you.
Well, thank you. The shirt that just happened to be on top, so I just put it on.
I say you're going Full Metal Jacket there.
Yeah. Well, as we got something in the chat already. Earl, before
Hi,
we went on.
Earl, yeah.
So, thank you.
For
Please like and
alligators.
subscribe. We're live all over the place today, so that'll be fun. Let's see. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, Odyssey, and a few other places. So, yeah, that'll.
So wherever you are, like us, subscribe.
Yeah, please like and subscribe. Yeah.
Or follow us or whatever. Just hit the buttons. Eventually you'll get somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. So today's episode, we are going to do. The first hour is going to be here on YouTube, and the second hour is going to be on Rumble and stuff. So if you haven't already, just go over there and watch us there. All those links are in the description box below in my link tree. So check that out. Go there when you're done. Oops. And we're kind of going to get started on the whole. I wanted to get into how Donald Trump and why is he doing so well and what is his connection to pro wrestling and all that other stuff, because I think that's pretty much key on his success. Somebody's peeping the horn, whatever. I think that's his key. It's a horn that we have in the building here to get in. Our door's locked. So we have to unlock it from up here. But yeah, what was I saying about? Oh yeah, Donald Trump and his success and why? How does that connect to wrestling and why? Well, real quick, we all know that wrestlers have a history of getting into politics and successful, rather. So I can name a few. Jesse Ventura became governor of Minnesota. More recent example, Glenn Jacobs, who became mayor of Knoxville in Tennessee, and he got reelected recently. So
right. He did. Wow.
Yeah, he won re-election recently.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but I did see on X that Linda McMahon is ready to be in Trump's cabinet again.
Yeah,
shocker.
That's another thing. That's another thing. I guess Indy put these links in there in chat because I didn't.
Yeah,
I was too busy looking at YouTube. Yeah, thanks, Indy.
Thanks, Indy.
I was too busy looking at YouTube and rambling away. But yeah, wrestlers. Wrestlers have had a history of success in politics. And Donald Trump's the most recent example. Technically he's never a wrestler, but he's made a ton of appearances in WWE over the last, since 30 years, since 1980s at least.
Yeah, at least.
Because WrestleMania
4 and 5.
Yeah, was in Trump. I'm about to say Trump Tower. Trump Plaza. Yeah, in Atlantic City, which technically wasn't Trump Plaza, if I remember the story correctly. It was a building that was rented across the street or down the block, and they just put Trump Plaza all over the place.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
it wasn't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a story that I read. It's like, oh wow, it wasn't even really Trump Plaza. It was just a building that was down the block from the casino, and they just put Trump Plaza over the place. So that was part of the deal with Trump. But Rick Solis, thank you for joining us. Heard Vince was on the phone with Trump all throughout 16 campaign. So it makes sense how Trump can work a crowd. Well, Trump knew how to do that from before, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if
Oh
that's true.
yeah.
Because Linda McMahon was in his cabinet the first time.
Yeah. And,
He
and
was
and they spent how many millions getting her wasn't she running for like a Senate?
She ran for Senate twice,
Yeah.
and
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 they
they
spent
spent $100 million in the
on
seats. And
that.
they lost twice.
Yeah.
So, so thank you for joining us, everyone in the chat. And
Yeah, I remember that
apparently,
too, Alex. Sorry, Angel.
no, go ahead.
I remember that too, and yeah, I agree with him. I agree with Jesse on a maximum wage, and he was saying how let's just say 12 million a year. Okay, if you can't live on 12 million a year, and he goes, well, I guess we'll have to get the guillotines back out. I agree. I totally agree. How are you going to spend? I mean, Jim Cornette was just talking about Tony Khan and them having $200 million plus. And he's like, how in the world do you spend 200 million plus in your lifetime? But I was like, Jim, there's people who have billions and billions of dollars. How do you spend $100 billion in your lifetime? And yet Bezos is on track to be the first trillionaire. So I agree with Jesse, Alex, that I mean, we need a maximum wage. We definitely, or I say we get the guillotines back out. If you can't live on 12 million a year, trust me, $12 million a year would be so great for me and my family. I'm sure, Angel, you could do a lot with them, $12 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I could. I wouldn't even. I don't know what to do with it. I would even not even imagine knowing what to do with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know, like, what am I going to spend it on? I mean, I would get a house, obviously,
Yeah.
for me and my dad and my son and my man. We would all live together. And the house I want isn't really that expensive. It's maybe a couple 100,000, but I mean, I wouldn't go crazy. I mean, it would be a 4-bedroom house, in case we have guests or whatever. But then I would also
Yeah.
have like a pool in the back, where my son could swim and whatever. And then, I'd get a brand new car and, I mean, that's really it. I wouldn't get like multiple houses. That's not me. I'm not a multiple house person. Maybe like a beach house or something because I do enjoy the beach.
Yeah.
But I
So
mean, I wouldn't go crazy.
that's yeah. So
Who
$12
needs
million
3
dollars.
mansions? Nobody needs 3 mansions.
Yeah, $12 million is much more money than I can imagine to doing with. I mean,
That's because we're poor.
yeah, I live so tiny and not much money that it's like nah. I don't really need it, but yeah, at the same time, would I like to have it? Sure. I wouldn't know what to do with $1 million every month, so yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I don't know,
That's 12
but I
million a
would
year. Yeah.
but I would definitely, I mean, I agree, but I do agree with Jesse that that should be looked into. We shouldn't have people who are literally the rich 1% has more money than the bottom 99%. We definitely need to take a
Waka
look at
waka,
that.
fam. What's up?
Waka
Hey.
waka. Hey Sarah, blessed be.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we definitely need to take a look at that. And I agree with Jesse wholeheartedly. The only thing that breaks my heart about Jesse is he was wrong on Ukraine. He was also wrong on masks. And I think I don't know. I haven't heard him speak about Israel, so I don't know his points on that. But I can tell you, he definitely got Ukraine wrong. He thinks Putin woke up one day and just decided that he wanted to take over Ukraine. Um, so kind of broke my heart a little bit that he got those
Yeah.
those couple of things wrong. But otherwise, I mean, I totally agree with him on the if you can't live on 12 million a year, I guess we should get the guillotines back out.
Yeah. It's absurd. Uh, yeah. By the way, like I said before everybody came in, I'm pretty sure we're gonna do the second hour on Rumble because and Twitch and Kick, not
And
on
there's
YouTube. So
Right, because there's so much more that we can do. Like we can show clips on stuff on Rumble. In fact, my I'm gonna start doing that for my other channel for Kurt Hennig is the best. Change my mind. I'm actually gonna do some exclusive like Rumble stuff only because I can do it over there and I don't have to worry about like copyright and stuff. So Just look out for that if you are already subscribed to the Kurt Hennig was the best changed my
Mm-hmm.
mind. If you could, please, please, please follow me on Rumble and YouTube. If you like Rumble better, I would rather you just be on Rumble for and all you have to do in the Rumble thing is look up Kurt Hennig was the best changed my mind podcast.
Yep.
Yes, Alex, he was wrong on Ukraine.
Yeah,
Like
he
I said,
was.
he basically thinks that Putin woke up one day and said, I must have Ukraine.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, but that's what he thought. So, yeah, Rick said, I'm sure the battle of the billionaires, McMahon and Trump at WrestleMania, was a really great practice for Trump learning sociology. And from one of the best to do it was Vince. It's like, at WrestleMania 23 in Detroit.
Right. I have
Hmm.
always maintained that Trump has always wanted to be a wrestler, but he just was too damn lazy to do it. So, Trump has always wanted to be the wrestler, but he didn't want to get into the gym and train and be a good athlete. So he watched other wrestlers and learned how to become a wrestler. Yeah, I remember seeing him at WrestleMania 6. It was him, Marilyn Tyler Moore, um, I think Chuck, or maybe it was WrestleMania 7, because Chuck Norris was there. I think some other people were there because they were in California, so it was WrestleMania 7. And I just remember him saying, it's a mix of theater and athletic wrestling and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, Trump. So are you taking notes? Honestly, it sounds like he has.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is the master at, just being in front of a crowd and being that, that carnival barker, kind of like Vince
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, he
I
knows
mean,
how to read the room, he knows how
uh,
to and that's why I
it,
say and like I said yesterday, Whitney Webb agrees with me that this was all probably a psyop to get Trump into the White House. So I'm not the only one who's like, "Wait a second here, things don't add up." But no matter what you think, I do agree that it was intentional, whether you believe it was a psyop or if you believe that it actually was them trying to get rid of Trump, whatever you
mhm,
believe, I think we can all agree that it was a clear setup and it was meant to happen.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because it's just a lot. And, so let's see. Yeah, I mean, Trump is, Trump is going to be president again. And he's like the old school wrestling heel. Like, like he would come to, he tells you those uncomfortable truths that it's right deep down, but you don't want to hear it about the baby face.
Right.
So, yeah, which is why you'll boo him more and more, even though you know deep down that he's right about the baby face. But yeah, I mean,
Well, Trump has been a heel for so long, everyone's like, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. Now, because of this whole
no,
incident, I mean, it's literally like they propelled him and made him the biggest babyface in the world. He's even bigger than Hogan at this point,
no,
which is another. I mean, that made me want to like go. "Ah."
it was intentional. I think they were trying to get rid of Trump, and he survived to he happened to survive by sheer quirk and luck or fate. I mean, yeah, I mean, I see that, which is why I'm like, yeah, if like I think, like I said last week when this initially broke, it's far too close to his head. I mean, even if if Trump was in on it, it's like, do you really want to risk your life just because I'm sure he wouldn't want to die, doing this. So it's like, I don't know, unless you're arguing that this is like a wrestling angle where he fell on the ground and just bladed his ear and got up and did this. Is
Took the
that what you
words
want?
right out of my mouth.
If that's what you want to
It
argue, yeah.
feels and sounds like a wrestling angle, guys.
Mm.
That's exactly right. Yes, Angel, that's exactly what this is. It's literally, and I agree with James Corbett, who said literally, no matter what you think, this was clearly made or meant to happen because there's just too many questions, too many failures, and I mean, but yeah, it's like a wrestling angle that was meant to be. Like literally,
Hmm.
remember right before the Chris Benoit thing, they were going to have Vince go into a limousine, and supposedly he was going to, delete. They were going to delete him.
No, they
And that
did.
was a wrestling angle. That was
They
a wrestling angle. So this doesn't sound too far fetched that literally they would make him a baby face and the biggest baby face in the world. And literally you took the words right out of my mouth. I can't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, they said. I remember. I specifically remember that it
Yeah.
was 2000. Whenever Benoit did what he did that year, this is right before that,
2007?
6 or 7. This is right before he went PG because Benoit what he did led to the PG WWE doing PG.
Okay.
So yeah, they did that night was Vince McMahon Appreciation Night or Mr. McMahon Appreciation Night, and all the
Mhm.
wrestlers came out and they basically tore into him like he was. They tore into him like he was the biggest piece of shit on the planet. So he had this look on his face, like, and he walked out to the limo. He got in the door. The foot was out. Wasn't the best editing job, but probably the best they can do in 2007. So
Yeah.
the limo exploded, and the whole angle was gonna be for the rest of the year who killed Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so it's not far fetched, guys, to think that this would be a wrestling angle when you look at it from that perspective. So, like, if you put all the dots together, yeah, it's a lot like what JFK and RFK, how their situations were done. So, I mean, we're talking about Donald Trump here. So, I mean, literally, it's literally made out of like a wrestling storyline. I can't state enough how, I mean, you're so correct, Angel.
It's
Yes.
unless you're arguing that as a wrestling angle and Trump just bladed his ear, which wrestler personality has done that,
I mean,
So
yeah, it could be. I mean, like that I said yesterday, I said, that's what people on X were saying. I
hmm
wasn't saying that. I was just saying, a lot of people on X, or some people on X, were saying that he bladed his ear. So it made it look like, oh, it was sorry, wrong side. But it was like, oh no, I got, shot right there.
hmm
But all I say is, well, they didn't miss with JFK and RFK, so the fact that they missed with Trump leads me to believe that, like in a story angle, they're trying to get him to be a babyface. And James Corbett said today on his one show, he said, that picture of him going like this with the American flag over his head over
hmm
here is going to be iconic, kind of like the World War II
Yeah, I
planting
made
the
that
flag in
argument last week.
Hiroshima. Yeah.
Yeah, I made that argument last week when it happened. They're like that photo is gonna be absolutely iconic. It's like
Right.
like
So
the Hiroshima photos and nine
right,
eleven
or the
photos.
9/11 photos,
Uh,
or even like if we can remember some Hulk Hogan, with the American flag in the back and Hogan standing there doing a promo, same
hmm
thing,
Yeah. What?
Trump is the same way. He knows how to work a crowd. He knows how to do a promo. Um, you know, I what makes me sad is that Jimmy Dore said, "Oh, he's going to get rid of the tax on tips." I went, "No, Jimmy, because if he really wanted to get rid of that tax on tips, he would have done it in his first 4 years." Because I think that's when they started that they're going to start taxing tips. I think that was under Trump. Somebody
Yeah,
check me on that,
I
please.
I don't know exactly when that popped up, but it could be. Rick says Hogan finally put someone over. I was like, yeah, it was Trump,
Oh, yeah, but the wrong person. I mean, he actually called Trump his hero. I was like, oh, somebody tag me, please. Somebody get me a bowl so I can throw up in it. I mean, come on. Yeah, Andy, it does help the bosses, but I mean, uh, I don't. Trump again, guys, it's almost like people get like amnesia every year. They forget the first years of Trump literally were not good. He did the CARES Act, he did the lockdowns so that,
hmm
our kids got left behind because he doesn't care about our kids. He almost started a war with Iran by killing Soleimani. I mean, Trump is not going to get rid of this stuff. And in fact, I just remembered, I forgot last time that he also tried to get rid of Social Security. Trump said he was going to get rid of Social Security and the employee income tax. But guess who pays for if that income tax goes away, the employers are not going to pay for that. The employees are. So Trump is not a good person. No matter what you think of him and whatever that attempt was, whatever you think about that, Trump is not a good person, guys. And this really breaks my heart that like someone like Jimmy Dore would say that and fawn all over Trump like he's some kind of hero. Guys, he's not a hero. He's a pussy. That dude could not stand up in a wrestling ring. That's why he was never a wrestler.
Yeah, so Alex says my personal guess based on my gut, he probably will end the war in Ukraine. Too much money. There's too much money's riding on that. Yeah, I'm sure he will because that connects to his base and RussiaGate and all that stuff. But he's ready to go. He's ready
to
to
war
go
with
to
Iran
and China.
and
You know, they're
China.
already saber rattling with China. So it's yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they'll make moves to end that war, and you know, it's good. I mean, I'm not saying that that's bad, but they're gonna that money's gonna be transferred from Ukraine to China to Taiwan most likely because Taiwan has been saber rattling with China too, trying to I don't know do what. I don't know what Taiwan's intention is. And Iran again, that's the holy grail of neocons in Washington.
Yes.
For decades
That is
now.
their wet dream. Yes, that is their wet dream right there. And guys, I mean, like I said, I don't. To be honest, Trump is not going to get out of NATO because if he wanted to get out of NATO, he would have the first 4 years of his presidency. Again,
He
guys,
did the
remember,
opposite.
yeah, he did the exact opposite. In fact, he was all in with NATO. He wanted to go further with NATO.
I hope that they I mean what did he say? Something to oh yeah, I helped I forced the other countries to pay more into NATO because they're supposed to pay 2% of their budget into NATO and they weren't doing it. I made that happen. See, look, I'm a great negotiator, aren't I? You know, that's how he used it as a for his presidency. Like, hey, I got them to do what they were supposed to do to begin with. You know, so it's like
Right. That's why
no.
he got us out of the Iran nuclear deal because he wants a war with Iran. That's why he killed Soleimani. And then Iran just kind of said, look, we don't really want a nuclear war with you, America. So we're just going to look the other way. Thank you, Iran. Thank you. We love you for
They
that.
just did
Please,
it.
we don't want a war either.
They just did it again recently with the when Israel sent those bombed their embassy in Syria.
Right.
They kind of sent like a virtue signal attack back, like, "Hey, look, we're attacking you at these places and at this time, so please stop it, okay?"
Right.
Literally, I mean that's what they did. I mean, again, there was more of a virtue signal attack. Like we have to respond because our own citizens will get pissed off. We don't respond. So
right, and I always get that. Oh well, I mean, the deep state hates him. Oh, really? Do they? You really think so? That's all kabuki theater, guys. Why didn't if they impeached him twice, why didn't they remove him? If they hated him so much, why did they miss? If they hate him so freaking much and think that he's not going to do what they want him to do, why did they miss and why did they impeach him but not remove him from office? He served all of his presidency. If I remember correctly, JFK did not. If I remember from history, I wasn't alive when JFK was deleted, but and I can tell you they didn't want RFK to get to the presidency either, because he would have stopped the Vietnam War. At least that's what they believe.
So I would agree, but the only thing I would say to counter that a little bit is the deep state doesn't like instability, and Trump brings a lot of instability to the White House. I mean, there were times where he's brutally honest about the
and he
about
had
the
gaps.
U.S. and he was like, they were like, oh no, don't say that. You know, we went into Iraq and Syria. I mean, Iraq and Afghanistan for the oil. You know, for the
And
oil.
why were we in Syria? Because of the oil.
Oil.
I get that, but I mean,
I took the oil.
Right, but more and more of Nancy Pelosi, even Chuck Schumer at times will say the quiet parts out loud. So I mean, that is just they say, "Oh, we can deal with that. We can make Trump our puppet or our bitch or whatever." But I mean, I think they've seen what Biden is and they're like, "No, I'm sorry. We have to go with Trump." So I agree that I mean it looks like the deep state may hate him, but from the outside looking
Could be a
in,
work too. Yeah.
it just is. It sounds like a
So
work to me, and again, it goes back to the wrestling promos,
yeah.
or wrestling storylines where
That's
Trump is hated by the deep state, so we can't have him in office. Okay, so why'd they miss? They didn't
yeah.
miss with JFK and RFK.
Uh, that's why the Restaurants Workers United, labor union that represents many in the industry's workers, opposes Trump's plan. The call to end taxes on tips is just a misguided way of trying to fix a problem, uplifting the lower class. So yeah, a lot of unions that represent restaurants are against his plan. So it's like, even if he were to do it, which I don't buy either, that actually would do it. But let's say if he does do it, a lot of the labor unions are against it. So it's like, oh, that's interesting.
Probably the leaders, because the leaders are in bed with the same people that there's who they sold out to, and literally are working for the
Y-
rich, and they're not really helping their unions, because
Yeah.
what's his name, Vance, is a union guy. Well, no, he's not, because
Er,
he went to Yale Law School, and
Earl.
he's been propped up by Peter
Mhm.
Thiel, this whole time.
Earl says we're crazy. Is like you were crazy as a fox.
We're
That's what I
crazy as a
say.
fox.
And he also says I don't see why Trump would take the risk while Biden stumbling his way into a landslide loss. I mean, that's what I argued too last week. To be, so when we were exclusively on Rumble because everything glitched out. But yeah, I mean that's what I argued last week. That's too much of a risk because his ear is here and his head is here. Could have very easily gotten here. So, but I see that point. I said that last week too. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was some sort of to help Trump get him over the top. Even though I don't think he needed it because he's probably going to win
Right.
anyways.
And
So I
I'm not,
don't.
I agree, but I'm just gonna push back just a tiny bit, just a little nudge. They could, like the people said, this guy couldn't. If you have heard any stories about him,
Hmm.
um, this guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if he was standing on top of it. So I think what happened is he missed, and then maybe Trump. That's where people were saying Trump bladed his ear. So like he bladed his, that's because you couldn't see it. Why didn't he just take the thing off and show everybody and be like, look,
Yeah.
this is what happened? They're very suspicious things, but I mean, everyone can have, like I said, no matter
Yeah.
what you think on coming out, or going in, it was meant to happen this way. What that reason is, no one really knows. We're just kind of grasping at straws. I just don't tend to uh, believe rich people, and I'm certainly not going to fawn over one just because he had an attempt on his life.
We're just doing something that George W. Bush called speculation. We're
You
just
spec-
speculating. But Grape says maybe Trump is just putting a bad face on imperialism. That's the argument I was making. With his brutal
He's the village
honesty and
idiot,
stuff.
right?
Yeah,
As
on what we were doing.
Right, Jimmy Dore would say he's just a village idiot, and
Hmm.
but they can control a village idiot. It's kind of hard to, and everybody knows that Biden is not all there, okay?
Yeah.
We know he's in mental decline, even though he doesn't want to admit it. But I mean, look at how the Democrats are responding. They're not saying, "Okay, let's get Biden out and get someone in there that we know someone will vote for." They're just kind of like, "He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. What do we do? What do we do?" And it seems like it's by design because
Yeah,
they
they
know
are.
Trump is going to win now because he's the biggest baby face in the world.
It's like there's two factions. So the ones that want to get Biden out, and there's the ones that want to keep him. And
Right.
there's that civil
And I
war
agree.
that is
Not
like
all
kind of like
failure is due to stupidity or incompetence. Exactly. Exactly.
that's
It
well
can
said
look like
actually.
that, and that's called
That's actually
kabuki
well said.
theater.
Yeah. So yeah, I look. I go back and forth, and I wouldn't be surprised this whole thing has worked. But at the same time, it's like it's too big of a risk to take. If it was worked, right there, because he could have very easily gotten it there, and then we were having a whole different conversation now about
Right. And
about
if
how
it come
this.
out and if it came out tomorrow that they tried again and, they actually did it this time, I'd be like, "Damn, I'll eat my words. Okay." So they
Mhm.
really did hate Trump. But I mean, it's just too convenient that everything happened the way it happened. And now there's like an iconic, and he did a photo op at the end there. But I think Whitney Webb agrees with me that there's more here than meets the eye. And I
Oh yeah,
don't think
no
it's
doubt.
good for Trump.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree Trump sucks in foreign policy, but our fight with Russia is existential, and I think Trump gets that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll end the war in Ukraine. There'll be some sort of deal where Putin
Hmm.
keeps Eastern Ukraine, those land that he already annexed, and everybody will moved on. Washington will melt down, but whatever, just give him China. I mean, Trump like, oh yeah, give him China. I
Absolutely.
don't care. Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
continue.
So
We'll
Trump is the master of the deals, right? So okay, we end Ukraine, but then we want a war with China or
or
Iran or
Iran. Yeah,
something.
just
Yeah.
give them some. Yeah.
Yep, I
I'll
totally
do
agree with that.
Iran, or we'll give money to Taiwan. We'll buy weapons.
Yep. Yep.
Taiwan will do what with it? I don't know, because they have no chance against mainland China. They have no chance. It's like a Ukraine situation all over again. They have no chance against mainland China.
No. And really, China doesn't really have to drop a bomb on us. They can just do, okay, we're not going to do anything you want to do. And by the way, you can't have your companies here paying workers 50 cents on the dollar and, get your companies out of here. We don't want your business
We're
anymore.
we're far too entwined economically for I don't know why. I don't know what Trump and Republicans are thinking with like saber rattling with China, because that's going to
Yeah,
backfire on us horribly,
it
especially
is.
if
Yep.
China says that, you know what, screw you, screw your companies, get
Yep.
out of here,
Yeah, and that
and
would
that's
hurt
it.
us way worse than dropping a bomb on us. And I mean, dropping a bomb on us would be severely bad. I mean, I don't want to die, and I don't want my son to die either.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to die, and I don't want Angel or geez, sorry. I don't want you to die, Angel, and I don't want Kit Cabello or Matt
Uh-huh.
Collins or anybody to die, my dad
Yeah.
included, or my man. I
Hmm.
definitely don't want my man to die. So I mean, China wouldn't even have to do any of that, really. They just have to
No.
say, "Okay, no more companies in China. Bye-bye." And
No.
and we would be screwed. We literally would be screwed. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
about rich people, but I know the poor people would be screwed. More
Well,
screwed than we
rich.
are.
Well, the rich would be screwed because a lot of their money is tied into China right now. So if they
Right.
kick them out, then
That would not be a good thing. So
yeah,
I question
we
why
we.
some of the rich people are not just going, yeah, leave China alone or
Mm-hmm.
I will have you
Yeah. Golden says, I forgot Trump had a weird thing with wrestling. Yeah, I mean, Trump has a major connection to wrestling.
I mean,
He's had dealings with Vince McMahon. He's done business with him. He's appeared on Raw and Smack. Not he's appeared on WrestleManias and Raws and SmackDown. Oh, at one point he quote unquote bought Monday Night Raw from Vince.
that
And
was
the
a
story,
storyline though, right?
yeah, that was a
Okay.
storyline.
I was like,
And
"Wait, what?"
yeah, he quote unquote bought Raw from Vince, and he was going to run Raw, and Vince is going to run SmackDown. They were going to do some big like match eventually, or not match, but they were going to do a big super card to see who ran the shows better. And eventually, of course, Vince is going to win out, and and Trump was going to give back Raw, but that lasted a week because the share price went down in WWF
Yeah.
or
Everyone
WWE
thought that was
because
shit.
yeah, so it's
And it
like
was shit.
Vince like, okay, let's scrap this. I'll buy Raw back from you, and you can go away or whatever. Because they were supposed to
Yeah.
do a whole big angle, but supposed to be like a year or something, but
Well,
it was scrapped.
yeah, and fans didn't like it, and it sounds like shit anyway. But interesting that you are correct that politics and wrestling, because it seems like politics has become wrestling. Everyone in the Senate and the
Hmm.
Congress basically is a heel, and we have now one big baby face, and that's what we thought was Hogan, but no, it's Donald Trump.
And Hogan put him over like $1 million in that promo. I'm not
Isn't
gonna
that
call it a speech.
surprising? Not
I'm not gonna call
really.
it a speech because it wasn't. It was
No, it was a promo.
1986, and
Yeah.
Hogan came out and cut his promo and ripped off his shirt and brother,
Well,
brother,
let me tell
brother,
you
and
something, brother. They went after my hero. I'm like,
uh huh.
oh God, please go get me a bucket so I can throw up in it.
Yeah, but we showed some clips from it last night, last night on Angel in the Afternoon. But yeah, I mean, it was. They actually played Real American. They've at the convention before Hogan came out. I'm sure that wasn't. He insisted on that because
Yeah.
it,
Oh yeah.
because
I'm
you
surprised he
have
didn't
to.
play the guitar. Right, those
Yeah.
videos of him playing the guitar with
Uh
the
huh.
American flag in the background. Actually, Hogan was really in a band when he first started, or like
Yeah,
when
he
I think before he
was.
wrestled.
Yeah, he was in a band in Tampa, and
Yep.
some of the workers in Florida would go to the bar where Hogan would play at. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think Gerald Briscoe was like, "Damn, that guy is huge. That guitarist. Who is he?" And basically they say, "Oh, that's Terry Bollea. He's a huge wrestling fan. You should meet him." So of course they met each other. As like, why don't you get into wrestling? You know, what I mean,
Yeah.
look, you're gigantic. He's like 6'7", 6'8" at the time.
Yep.
The Hogan now shrunk because all the back surgeries he's had,
Oh
but
my god, and
yeah,
yeah, and
he's sit.
his skin is hanging. It's
Yeah,
like, ugh, okay, you need to retire, Hogan. I
Hogan
would
was in a
actually
band.
like disappear from public life for maybe at least forever.
Yeah, he started in Tampa. He's in a band. There's like an
Yeah,
underground band,
there
and
are. If you look up, go ahead.
Gerald Briscoe happened to be at this bar along with some of the workers in Florida because they were working for Eddie Graham down there.
Hmm.
So they saw Hogan and is like, oh my god, it's huge, and he's muscular, and he looks like him. Who is that fucking guy? And it's like, oh, that's
Hmm.
Terry Bollea, huge wrestling fan. You should you should see him. He would love to meet you. Love to meet. And they met, and it's like you should get into wrestling. Hogan's, oh yeah, of course. He went
I don't
into
know if he
work
was an
with.
artist.
Nah, I'm not sure. He was just a guitarist, but
Yeah, he
it,
wasn't a poet. He was. The
mm-hmm,
thing is, Grape. If you've never seen those clips of Hogan, look him up on YouTube. You can find them. Just say Hulk Hogan playing a guitar, and it's him playing a bass guitar with the American flag in the background.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I don't know that much about Hogan, but I know I heard an interview from Greg Gagne who said, yeah, he was in a band and everything, and then he got into wrestling, and he wasn't really making a lot of himself until Vern Gagne got a hold of him. So it was
Yeah.
Greg and Vern Gagne who kind of made Hogan something. They made him a heel first, and that wasn't really working. So then they changed him babyface, and it just took off.
Yeah, that. And then he went to meet up with his trainer, Hiro Matsuda, which Hogan tells the story that during their first session, he just broke his leg. And when he was training the first time, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna break your leg," which was common back in those days. See whether you would come
Hmm.
back. And 8 weeks later, he's back, and is like, "Okay, maybe this big muscular guy may have something in him because he came back." They thought he
Hmm.
would just go back to his band. It's like, "Oh fuck wrestling," and I got my leg broken, but. Like he went back
Yeah.
and was like, okay, well maybe there's some heart in this kid, this
Well,
giant dude.
right, and that was Vern Gagne. I mean, a lot Greg explains it this way. A lot of guys showed up for the first day of where they teach you how to, take bumps and stuff.
Oh, Vern,
And Vern Gagne's school was very, very strict and
it
very
was
hard wearing
infamous.
on. Yeah, it was infamous because it was
Vern Gagne,
it
hmm
was like, a military school for
yeah.
wrestling. Let's put it that way.
Hell,
Kurt
you know
says
who
this
quit?
too.
You know who quit his school initially? Ric Flair. Like in
Yeah,
1970s, he quit, and
yeah.
so Vern Gagne went to see him. Is like, oh no, you're coming back because I see something in you, kid. So he went back and became Ric Flair.
Right. And Kurt talks about this too. He said, in one of the magazines I have, he said, uh, 10 or 15 guys showed up for the first day, and only like 3 or 4 of them came back. And Kurt was one of them. So, I mean, even Kurt was saying like, oh man, it's very strict, but I mean, it had to be in those times because you had to
Yeah.
know what you were doing.
Yeah, and you had to protect kayfabe, and you couldn't be fucking up moves that they do now, unfortunately. So they had, you had to be tight. You had to be able to work and be tight with it. Not
Right.
mess up all the time.
Right.
So yeah, I
Because you
mean
could
that's
hurt
how
yourself
Hogan.
or hurt someone else.
Yeah, that's how Hogan got into business, and he went from Florida. He worked for Vince Senior in New York,
Hmm.
and we worked with Andre, but the roles were reversed. Andre was the heel, and or Andre was the baby face, and Hogan was the heel.
Hogan was the heel.
So he was managed by Freddie Blassie, and they
Hmm.
had their matches, and the whole deal was eventually they ended up doing a cage match in Shea Stadium, which was their big blow off. And then Hogan did Rocky 3, and then Vince Senior fired him, and then he went to AWA, and that's when they turned him babyface, and he went wild. Let's say Hulkamania went wild there
Right. And
in
that's how
Burns
that's all
territory.
started. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And if it wasn't for Vern, Hulkamania probably wouldn't have been a thing.
Because they saw everybody saw him as a heel because he was so big.
Right. and it was Vince that capitalized on Hulkamania.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it was
Vince.
Vern who started it, but it was Vince that actually uh, made a profit on it,
Yeah,
and saw it for what it was, that it was going to be
because
huge.
that whole if Vern would have put the belt on Hogan, he probably would have stayed, but he never
Yes.
did.
He never
He
did, but
never.
he did. But according to Greg Gagne, he was going to, but Vern had things very close to the chest.
Yeah, they were. They did a title change once where Hogan won, but he threw Nick Bockwink over the top rope, which was illegal. So they switched
Right.
it back to Nick, and they just wouldn't, for whatever reason. Vern just like they wouldn't hand them the championship, which is what
Right.
Hogan wanted. So and eventually Vince Jr. was like, oh, "I'm going to put the belt on you. You're going to be the biggest star in my company," and
That's right. And he
Vince
didn't
was
see
like,
any, because
"Yeah,
Vern, like I said, held everything close to the chest because he didn't want stuff leaked.
yeah."
And then, they were going to do this, they were going to do that. But because Vern was so tight lipped, because he didn't want stuff leaked to the dirt sheets.
So yeah, the
So,
story behind that was Hogan was working a tour in Japan in between the AWA commitments. So
mhm,
Andre was there, and Andre was like, "Hey, Vince Jr. is taking over WWF or took over WWF at that point, and he's gonna
yeah,
tour around the country and blah blah
yeah,
blah." And eventually, Vince Jr. ended up flying to Tokyo and make the deal with Hogan. So they made the deal, and Hogan sent a telegram after he got back to Florida, like, "Oh, I'm not coming back." So it was like, and it wasn't signed. It was a telegram, unsigned telegram saying, "I'm not coming back."
right. And
And
he
it
thought it
was
was
like
from Eddie Graham,
Eddie
who
Graham.
they
Eddie
they
Graham
would
was ribbing
always,
him.
yeah, they were always ribbing each other. Earl, that's not true. I don't want any of you guys to die either. I didn't say that because, I
uh,
figured you guys already know how I feel about you guys. But no, I wouldn't want any of my family, online family, to pass either. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like I said, China can hurt us more ways than, well, in more ways than just dropping a bomb on us. Literally, they can just do the economic warfare and pff, we're done. Done. Over. It's over.
at
What is
Golden,
what
what
is Hulk Hogan's biggest accomplishment?
getting Capcom
Uh
inspired design character loosely based on Hogan for Street Fighter 3. Alex, I haven't played Street Fighter 3 in a while, but it.
I haven't played Street Fighter in a long, long time. It's
Uh,
been since the
I mean,
90s.
his biggest accomplishment being the greatest politician in wrestling history. I mean,
Yeah.
he's found a way to keep himself not only get to the top, but keep himself on top for
Nope.
decades. I mean, even when he came back to WWF in 2003 and 4, he was a WWF champion again, like for a month, but he
Again.
got the belt
Yeah.
again. It was like,
Wow.
so
That
yeah,
doesn't surprise me.
he found a way to stay on top decades after his initial run on top. So
And he
mm,
made Vince McMahon a lot of money. Let's face it. I mean, he made Vern, I'm sure, a lot of money until he left with Vince Jr. and then Vince Jr. capitalized on the Hulkamania stuff. But then when Hogan left to do, Thunder in Paradise and all those other movies like Mr. Nanny and stuff,
mm,
he still made Vince a lot of money when he came back in '93, and then when he left again,
yeah,
he made Eric Bischoff a lot of money. So I also contribute his greatest accomplishment would also be, for the time being, if I mean, let's just face it, Terry Bollea only thought about Terry Bollea or Hulk
yeah,
Hogan.
yep,
Um, he only thought about himself. And, yeah, he made promoters a lot of money, but if it didn't benefit Hogan, like I said, if it didn't benefit Flair, it didn't happen. Flair
no.
also made a lot of people money, but then also took a lot of money from other people.
Yeah, but I mean Hogan. I mean Hogan is one of the greatest
For
wrestling
life.
politicians of all time. And it's like
NWO great for
NW.
life.
Yeah, that's when Hogan kind of remade his career in the mid '90s because he
Yep.
was getting stale. But when he went
Yep.
in WCW in '96,
Yep.
immediately became WCW champion, beat Flair, and he had that initial run as the babyface or yellow and red, character in WWF,
Right. Right. And
and
that was
people were
getting
sick of it by
stale.
then. They're getting
Yep. People were
stale.
sick of it. Yep.
Yeah,
So
and
then when
Hogan
the
was getting
NWO
booed.
came, well, when Eric Bischoff made the initial pitch to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they were just going to have those two.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they started talking about a mysterious third
third
person,
man.
and guess who it was? It was Hogan. Yeah, they pitched it to Sting, but Sting was like, "No, I'm like a great babyface. People still like me as a babyface."
Apparently,
So then they
according
did
to
this invasion thing.
apparently they allegedly got Sting to agree to the heel turn, according to Bischoff at least. But
Huh.
then he ended up going. Hogan, basically called him or had him called because he was up in the mountains filming some shitty movie, and in California. So Bischoff went all the way up to the mountains there, and is like, because apparently somehow he was getting tapes of Nitro, so he's watching the show even though he's up in the mountains. So Hogan was like, "So who's the third man, brother?" And Bischoff was like, "Wait, you're watching the show? I mean, I thought there's no cable up here." And then he explained, "Well, we got Sting to turn heel. I convinced him." And Hogan was like, "I'm your third man, brother."
Because he
And he's
saw
like,
dollar signs.
"Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, really? Okay." Well, he had now to go back to Sting and stuff. "Oh, you don't have to turn heel, Sting," which I'm sure he was happy about because
Yeah.
he didn't want to turn heel anyway. So it's like, we got Hogan to do it. It's like, oh, thank God.
There's another person that wouldn't put anybody over if it didn't affect or if it didn't benefit him. Sting.
And what's funny about that, his most recent run in AEW, Tony Khan bragged about this, but it's like, "Oh, Sting went 30-0, and he worked for us in AEW. He didn't lose to anybody in AEW.
Yeah.
He didn't
That
put
just shows
anybody
me he
over
didn't.
on
Yeah,
his
he didn't
way
put
out."
anybody over on his way out.
And he beat the Young Bucks in their his final match. I'm like, I have no problem with that. And I usually like guys going out in their backs, but it's like, why would you put the Young Bucks over? It's like, no.
Right.
So
Alex, I wasn't a big Hogan fan until he joined the NWO because I actually liked the NWO because Kurt Hennig would eventually join the NWO. And as you can see, I'm a big Kurt Hennig person. I was more for Kurt Hennig because he was second generation and freaking know how to wrestle, whereas Hogan kind of he eventually learned how to wrestle, but it took him several years to figure out how to do like a basic hold.
yeah, so Rick says Hollywood Hogan. Hollywood, that's not going to work for me, brother Hogan. Yep,
That don't work for me, brother.
Hulk, Mr. Creative Control. I mean, he got
Yeah.
when he got creative control in that contract, Eric Bischoff justified it by saying, "Oh well, all top guys have creative control anyway, so I just put it on writing," which is true. But I've never seen a promotion put it in writing. That's the first time I've ever seen that happen. Usually, it's like, yeah, I mean, well, we'll definitely take your opinions into account because you're the guy here. Which is why Hogan never put anybody over in WWF, especially in his initial run.
And he as Kurt will put it, he saw that Kurt was going to take his job, take the number one spot. So of course he was going to keep other people like Kurt down and axe, that push that they were going to give Kurt, which they should have just kept doing it.
He axed plenty of pushes. Kurt, he tried doing the Undertaker. He nearly killed off Undertaker's career.
Yeah.
Because the story Survivor Series 91, they had that match. It's the gravest challenge. Hulk Hogan versus The Undertaker for the WWF title. And Undertaker said, Hogan wouldn't roll into the arena until like 5 o'clock. He was allowed to do that because everybody else had to be there by 1. But when he got to the arena at 1, Hogan's already there. And I was like, what's going on here? So, and Hulk, in those days, they would basically say all the business would handle in the bathrooms. So he's like, come on, brother, I need to talk to you. It's like they walked into the bathroom. It's like, hey, look, I got a bad neck. I've injured my neck. I'm worried about taking your tombstone. Because the finish, if you guys don't know, was Undertaker tombstoning Hogan onto a chair. But Ric Flair just came in WWF, so he was going to cost Hogan the title. So I'm worried about taking your tombstone, brother. And it's like, don't worry, I'm going to hold you. I'm going to protect you, blah, blah, blah. And then throughout the day, Undertaker would see Hogan, and every time you see him, he's like, remember, brother, my neck. He wouldn't say anything, but he would just do this. So I'm like, if I were Taker, I'm like, oh no, Hogan's gonna do something to fuck me up. And I don't know if he thought that or not, but he didn't say that. But it's like you would know a top guy like Hogan would do something like that. I digress though. Anyways, the match happens.
No, you're absolutely right because I mean, look what he said later. He said, "Oh yeah, Taker put me on the chair and totally hurt my neck and stuff, and I told him not to." And Taker's like, his neck never even touched anything. It never touched
No,
anywhere.
it
His
was
body was literally cradled in the Undertaker's arms.
it.
He went down on
Mhm.
his knees and then gently placed Hogan on the mat. There was no contact with that mat until he gently let Hogan
Yeah,
onto the mat.
and then the match happens, and the match was the standard Hogan match. Paul Bear interfered, and
Mhm.
Hogan hit him, and then he had Undertaker to drop the leg, but Flair's out there, and he was trying to take his belt because he called himself the real world champion. So Hogan went out and punched Flair in the head. He came back in the ring. Undertaker, big booted him, picked him up, tried to tombstone him, and Flair put the chair there, and he had him. When he hit, his head was nowhere near that chair, but he
Nowhere
said,
near it.
"Oh, you got me, brother." Like, and Taker's
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Hogan would make something up. Oh yeah, he hurt my neck. He dropped me right on that chair and whatever. His neck was not even anywhere
No,
near it.
it wasn't even close.
Our fans are asking if Hogan has ever been in UFC. No,
No,
because he would not
he
survive.
no he claimed that Dana White wanted him to be in the UFC, but he
Right.
said something to the effect of, "Well, I don't know because there were no rules, and I was and I didn't want to get hit in the nuts during fights, so which is why I never did it." So that's how he backed away from the whole UFC thing. It wasn't true. No one ever offered him anything in the UFC.
Hogan will make up anything. Yeah, Harley Race
Yeah.
supposedly set the ring on fire.
Hmm.
Hogan made
That's
that up.
another story. Allegedly, they were in St. Louis, where it's Harley Race's
Oh,
territory.
God.
So he was pissed. So he did show up with a gun. Apparently, that did happen.
Yeah, that
But
did happen.
but what didn't happen is him walking into the arena, setting the ring on fire, and then shaking Hogan's hand is like, "Hey, can I get a job?" That never happened. That part never happened. But the first part did, where Harley Race showed up with a gun because he's
Right.
pissed. It was his territory, and they were running his territory.
Right.
So he was looking for Hogan. He's looking for Vince, and Vince wasn't there, but Hogan was there. So Hogan was scared to death. I mean, that was the. He's like, Harley's gonna shoot me. Oh shit! So he was hiding out most of the show before his
Right.
match. Eventually, he left, but he's pissed. Yeah. So, and Harley would shoot Hogan. I mean, I would not be surprised. I mean, he's that type of guy who would just shoot Hogan.
Would you really be surprised if you had heard that?
No, I wouldn't have been.
I mean, Hogan pissed off a lot of people. And by the way, Earl, no, I didn't. I would not leave you off that not kill list. You silly person. Wait till Bad Cookies comes in here because I'm gonna rip him a new one. No.
Yeah,
But yeah, like to be honest, like I said, Hogan pissed off a lot of people. He burnt a lot of bridges in the
Yeah.
wrestling business. So does it surprise anyone that anyone would shoot Hogan? I mean, he burnt the bridge with Jesse, burnt the bridge with Vern Gagne, burnt the bridge with Vince eventually, and then with Eric
Yeah.
Bischoff, and go back to Vince, and burnt another bridge with him. And I mean, the fact that he literally makes up stories now that he never would have been there.
he
He
puts
wouldn't even been
himself.
present.
He puts himself in every major event in wrestling history somehow. And another one of Hogan's lies that Rick put up, Hogan trying out for Metallica, is one of the many Hogan lies over the
Yarns,
years. Yes.
yeah, he tells.
Yeah, he did. He did allegedly try out for Metallica, but obviously didn't get in. But according to him, at least he did. And they liked him, but he wasn't chosen. It was like, yeah, they would have liked you. You probably would have been in the man, but they didn't. So another lie about. Oh, Hogan also claimed that Elvis Presley was a huge fan of his in Memphis, which wasn't true because by the time Hogan got into wrestling, Elvis had been dead for 2 years. So
Exactly.
so no, there's no way it was true.
Elvis was a big fan of. No kidding.
Yeah.
Because he did an impression of Elvis. Andy
Mhm.
Kaufman.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the Andy Kaufman I'm from Hollywood or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I forgot who said it. It might have been Bob Saget, but someone said that, oh yeah, Elvis loved the impression because he found it so entertaining, the impression, and no one was really doing Elvis impressions at that point. It was Andy
was
Kaufman.
one of the first to do it.
Andy was
Yeah.
one of the first, and man, was he
Hogan-
super entertaining. I'll
Mhm.
tell you what. Phew. I
Hogan
love Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, Hogan, as they say, goes to business for himself. Yeah,
That's
he
right.
does.
That's absolutely right. Yes. Because if it
He
doesn't,
hurt.
like I said this with Ric Flair, same thing with Ric Flair. If it does not benefit Hogan, it does not happen. Flair's done this too. I mean, he did it to
Yeah.
his uh ilk. There's a guy named Big Black Bart or something, bearded
Mm,
Bart or something. But anyway, he was talking about, oh yeah, Flair and I were friends, and he stabbed me in the back, and that's supposed to be my friend,
hmm.
So I mean, Ric Flair did it too.
Yeah, which is why I think at WrestleMania 6, it was supposed to be Flair against Hogan in the main event, but Hogan wouldn't put him over, and Flair wouldn't put him over, and Vince was like, okay, can we do something? Can you guys work together? Maybe do something, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't come to a finish, and they didn't want to do disqualification at the main event of WrestleMania because it's main event of WrestleMania in those days.
Black
So it
Bart,
had
yeah,
to be
Black
a
Bart. Thank
finish.
you.
Black Bart. Okay, yeah.
Um, are you thinking maybe WrestleMania 8? WrestleMania 6 was the Ultimate Challenge.
Oh, you're right. It might have been 8. Yeah, it was 8 because it was at the Hoosier Dome in Indiana.
Because it was him and Sid, I thought. Him
Yeah,
and
that was
Sid,
the
and then
yeah,
Flair and
initially it's
Savage.
supposed to be Flair and Hogan, but they couldn't agree on a finisher of the match, so it was switched to a double main event. Vince called it.
Right.
So it was Flair and Savage for the title, WWF title, and
And
Hogan
Flair
versus
won.
Sid. Yep, Hogan versus Sid in the main event, which
Right.
ended by disqualification because Hogan didn't want to put over Sid in his final match by
And
pinfall.
you know what really sucks about WrestleMania 8 is they would not let Kurt at ringside. God dang it. Can't you like help a girl out? Can a girl stare at a guy, for heaven's sake? Yeah, they wouldn't
Yeah,
let Kurt at ringside. I'm like, why not?
yeah, I got it wrong. I mean, I said
I want to
6, and
stare at Kurt. I don't want to stare at Savage and Flair. Screw them.
yeah, I got it
Come on,
wrong.
help
I
a girl
said
out
6,
here.
and I forgot that was the Ultimate Challenge. Yeah, so it was 8. It had to be 8 because the next year was 9, where Hogan would weasel his way into the WWF title.
Right,
So
and it would be Kurt and the narcissist Lex Luger.
yeah, that was that match, and
Mm-hmm.
that was another. Lex was always the narcissist. Before every time I think of Vince saying, "Oh no, it's the top babyface now," I was like, "No, he's the guy who fell in love with his own image in the mirror." I mean, there's a legend about that.
Narcissus, yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just
There's a
like what
legend
Kurt
about
says
that.
about him in the one promo. Kurt goes,
Mhm.
Narcissi. I was just like,
Yeah.
yes, that is gold.
That was
baby,
perfect. Yeah,
gold.
he's the baby
Yeah,
face,
because he
and
was perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that was his baby face. I love Kurt's baby face run. I think he made a better baby face than he did a heel. But
yeah,
I mean, they're neck and neck because I love the NWO turn heel. But then I really love that baby face turn in 93,
yeah.
92,
Rick
93.
says, "Oh, Sid had a tweet about Hogan the night that he did the RNC speech, saying he wanted to powerbomb him."
I mean,
I didn't
everybody wanted
see.
to power
I didn't see that tweet, but I wouldn't be surprised because Sid tweets out he wants to powerbomb everybody. So when I see his tweets,
Were you guys present? Like, I'm gonna ask our audience now.
uh-huh.
Were you guys present, or did you guys see when Sid hurt his leg? And I mean, it literally like went like this all the way
You-
around. It's like, ugh.
because
Like I
some
physically
genius.
cringed when I saw that. I was
Yeah,
like,
that was
ugh.
awful. Some genius in WCW told Sid, "Oh, you need to do other moves, enhance your repertoire. I want you to go off the top rope." He's like, "I never done that." He literally never went off the top rope because he didn't need to. He's 6'10". I mean, so most guys 6'10" don't go off the top rope unless you're Undertaker or Kane, but those were the exceptions. But
Exceptions, yeah.
usually the guys 6'10" wouldn't come off the top rope. They would be big dominant guys, beat you up in the ring. So it's like, oh, let's do it once, it'll make you look good. And said that, okay. So he attempted a big boot off the top rope to I think Nash, but he missed and he landed and
Oh my
shattered his
gosh. I
leg.
physically cringed. I went, "Phew."
Yeah, I
When
mean
I
it was
saw
all it was gory. Yeah, it was like
I
his
think we
ankle
were
was
both
like
like
that.
13 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah, it
happened
was
in
like
like 99.
yeah, he broke his ankle or leg. It was like this,
Yeah, it was
it
like
was
turned
inverted.
totally inverted. Oh my god. I was
Yeah,
like, ugh.
and I think Nash got up to try to hit him, and he looked and like, oh shit, he's fucked. So they kind of started working with other guys.
I think I better go. I gotta leave. And
Yeah,
here's
and
the.
like
Did you ever see the botch? The botch with him where he says,
I know you're talking
I'm
about
I'm more man than you, and I have half the brain you
brain
do.
that you do,
Oops.
and see it and look on his face
And
like
Scott
said
Hall's going.
and Scott Hall's just laughing at him. It's like
Like,
legitimately
dude, you
laughing at him.
botched.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, I agree with that. You have half the brain that I do, and you start this
Scott
and
Hall's just
Sid
like,
and Sid like, did I just say that? And he had
yeah,
that look
like,
in his face.
uh,
Like,
remember that promo where he goes, "Oh, let me try it again," and Jr. goes, "It's
oh, we're
live,
live,
Trump.
pal. It was
We're
like,
live, pal. We're
oh
live, Trump."
shit, okay. Sid couldn't talk. His promos like were, they weren't. Like, he wasn't a promo guy. Like, he
No.
was more of a just. He looked scary. He looked a badass. He looked
Yeah,
scary,
he looked
but
badass. All right. Yeah, yeah. And he's just like, let me try that again. Like, we're
no, we're
live, Trump.
live, man. Go. You know?
You got to say what you got to say.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, the Sid leg break Rick was disaster. Like, I've
Oh,
never seen a gory injury like that.
I
I've
literally
seen,
like cringed.
yeah, I've in
I
30
went,
years of watching wrestling, I've never seen an injury like that. I mean, I've seen guys get hurt, but
yeah, I
like
mean, I've
that,
seen
like,
guys get hurt, but I
yeah,
mean, that was just cringeworthy. I mean, we were both 12 when and I just saw this when Buff Bagwell comes back. When Buff Bagwell went like that, when Rick Steiner did
he's bulldog
the bulldog on him and his neck stepped
like
back.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was a mistake or a botch, and Rick
And he
and
wasn't moving. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
Rick landed first, and then Buff Bagwell landed on him, and his neck did that, and he
Yeah.
was paralyzed. He wasn't moving. He was straight. He was paralyzed. It was like
And that dude is very, very lucky that he's still able to walk around, let alone wrestle.
he wrestled after that. I mean, he
Yeah.
got feeling back within a few minutes. It was like Stinger, like Steve Austin had a Stinger when Owen
Yeah,
Hart
from Owen Hart sitting
did the
instead of
sit down
going to his
power
knees,
driver.
he did a
Yeah,
sit down and it dong. He's like
yeah.
Stone Cold said it sounded like a really loud bell ringing in your head.
I've never broken my neck, so I'll take his word for it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it must have been horrifying. He couldn't move. And Steve said, I can't. He told, I think Earl Hebner was the referee. He said, I can't fucking move. And he told Owen, and Owen
Yeah, and then
distracted the fans.
you see and he's like, and he was supposed to pin Owen Hart,
Yeah, he's supposed
and
to beat
Austin
him.
said he just kind of did this, and you don't even see his hand like stay on Owen very long. But
Eventually,
I mean,
he
the
got
referee
feeling
still
back.
counted.
He got feeling back eventually, but
Yeah,
eventually the roll up. He did the roll up to Owen, which looked like shit, but that's the best they can do. Owen basically fell back, and Steve just basically put an arm over him. They counted it to get out of the match.
now there's
So
some people that say that he hated Owen for that. I don't know if he
I,
hated Owen, but then there's some
I don't
people
think
that
he
say he
did.
didn't really have animosity towards Owen. He just didn't want to work with him anymore. And that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean,
That's
would you want to
understandable.
yeah, would you want to work with someone who literally just injured you?
Yeah, and Steve asked Owen a couple times, "Are you sure you want to do it like that? Because usually you do that tombstone and you land on your knees, not on. Undertaker does it. You don't
Mhm.
sit down on your ass like that because it's dangerous. And oh no, I got you. Don't worry about it. And he trusted Owen because hell, it's from the Hart family. These are
Yeah.
all
He
great
was second
wrestlers. So,
generation and knew how
yeah,
to work. Yeah.
yeah. So he
But
trusted
Owen
Owen,
was
and
the consummate ribber, just like I just recently saw a interview with Brett that they did
uh
several years ago, and he said one of the questions was, did Kurt ever rib Owen or did Owen ever rib Kurt? Because they both were synonymous for
yeah,
very raunchy ribs, let's put it that way.
mm-hmm.
And Brett goes, no. If you're a big ribber, you don't rib another big ribber. I was
Yeah.
like,
They
oh,
don't.
come on, Brett. You
Yeah.
know more than you're talking about. That tells
Well,
me that, yeah, they probably did. And it was probably shit that we would never even think of.
yeah. There's some stuff that there's some stuff wrestlers would do, and yeah, it's good. Buff Bagwell's doing well. DDP again. He saved plenty
Yeah.
of these wrestlers.
Buff was on some heavy duty stuff most of his life. And
Didn't he do adult entertainment at one point? Buff
yeah.
Bagwell.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm
And
like,
fell in love with and married an older woman.
yeah. Why is that stuff
He
going
left. In
away?
fact, he left his second wife for her or his first wife for her, I think.
Yeah, that comment there glitched out. Hold on, let me. All right, there you go. But yeah, I mean, it's just. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, start heading over to Rumble now and the other
Yeah, because we're
platforms
gonna go to Rumble
because
here real soon and do some
yeah,
clips. I can't wait.
so, so it's past an hour already. So I'm gonna put the Rumble links in the chat so you guys start going over there. So because I have a match, I have it was a
Thank you, Indy.
it happened
Uh-oh, he went bye byes. Anyway, guys, since he's a little bit gone, I will go ahead and talk about Kurt Hennig. Yes, Kurt Hennig. Because he's the greatest wrestler to ever live, in my opinion. Thank you, Indy, again for doing that. I didn't really like DDP, Rick, to be honest. Not trying to be mean or anything, but yeah, I just wasn't much for uh, DDP. I didn't like his gimmick in WCW. I hated it in WWE. Um, but I have some good matches coming up. In fact, I want to do DDP's match with Kurt Hennig at Hog Wild because it was such a great match. It literally was DDP and Kurt, and I mean Flair interferes, but you can take out Ric Flair for a second because I don't like Ric Flair. Never liked Ric Flair, um, and I don't like Ric Flair now. I even detest him right now. But anyway, so I do want to do some shameless plugs since he's gone. If you guys would like to see if we're still on anything at this point, if you could hop over to Kurt Hennig was the best change my mind podcast. I have some great stuff coming up. I got episode 43, I believe is oh shoot. I forgot what the F43 was
well, I'm back.
okay.
About that. I glitched out there.
Yeah, that's
But
okay.
yeah,
I was just gonna do
those are
some
the
shameless
Rumble
plugs
links.
really
Okay, go
quick.
ahead. Because we
Okay.
got to go
Yeah,
to
so
Rumble.
Indy has the Rumble thing. Um so anyway, 43 episode 43 is the match with DDP. I just remembered it's right before Halloween Havoc, and if you go to my Rumble, like I said, just look up Kurt Hennig was the best change my mind podcast on Rumble, you'll find me. If you could go ahead and follow me there. I have the episode with DDP, and I have some, little specials there for you on Rumble. Um, I think I already did the on Rumble 40 episode 42 has the promo with Kurt, and that's because I just wanted to put that in there. Episode 44 is coming up next week. That is the where Kurt Hennig takes Arn Anderson's spot. And if you go over to Rumble, I will have the NWO parody. And then episode 45 is in 2 weeks. And that is the Dean Malenko match between Kurt and Dean Malenko. And I have some specials there as well. So if
Yeah.
you follow me on Rumble, you're going to get Rumble only exclusives and no copyrights and no worrying about, censorship or anything. It's a free for all on Rumble. So if you can follow me on Rumble, please follow me on Rumble. And that's Kurt Hennig was the best change my mind. I'm also doing a show tomorrow for my Black Magic Talk. Eric something or other. I'm sorry, I forgot his last name, but we're going to have a special guest on to talk. And then after our guest leaves, we're going to do a full moon ritual. It's just
Okay.
saying some words to the full moon. Because we do as a Wiccan and a pagan, we will do the moon phases. So we're just going to do some words about that, and then the week after, I think we have another guest. We're booked up pretty much through August as well. We have
Yeah.
all these kind of guests on Black Magic Talk. So my Rumble is Black Magic Talk podcast. I also have a YouTube if you want to follow me there. I have my X for Kurt Hennig was the best. It's Kurt Podcast 0420. That is my X handle. You can follow me on X and DM me. Black Magic Talk is just, I think it's Mrs. Witchy Perfect or something, or Mrs.
Mhm.
Witchy something.
All that's in
If
the
you,
description. So.
yeah, if you want to follow me on there, you can
Hmm.
DM me. We actually are going to offer people, really quick. We're just going to offer people, excuse me, tarot readings. If you are interested, DM me on X and I will give you my rate. Same thing for Matt Collins. He has a set rate for any tarot readings that you want from him. We can do it either on the show or off the show, but DM us and let us know what you would like to do, and we'll do that for you.
Oh, it's interesting. Okay. Well, I was saying before I got cut off, my internet cut off. We're going to play a match from July 19th, 1986.
All right,
the match
so
where
we
it's
are
the match
on
where
Rumble.
Hogan turns on, or Orndorff turns on Hogan. So
Okay.
we're gonna play that match right now. I've got to get off YouTube though. So go there now.
Go to Rumble.